Once upon a time, in the heart of Scotland, a child was born on March 3, 1847, who would grow up to change the world. His name was Alexander Graham Bell. Born into a family with a deep passion for language, speech, and communication, Bell's early life was marked by a series of extraordinary influences that would shape his destiny. Alexander's father, Alexander Melville Bell, was a renowned teacher of the deaf, and his grandfather had been a linguist. This intellectual environment fostered a strong fascination with sound and speech in young Alexander. His mother, Eliza Simmons Bell, was deaf, which profoundly influenced his life. Growing up with a deaf mother, he was able to experience the world of sound through her eyes and began to understand the struggles faced by those who could not hear. His family's involvement in teaching and researching speech led Alexander to develop an interest in helping those who could not speak or hear. This interest in sound and communication began early, and as a boy he loved to experiment with different ways of producing sound. As a teenager, Bell showed promise in many areas, excelling in languages, music, and science. At the age of 15, he attended the University of Edinburgh, studying the mechanics of sound and the science of speech. By the time he turned 18, Bell had already developed a reputation for being a brilliant young man with a deep fascination for the scientific mysteries of sound. However, rather than following a traditional academic path, Bell decided to venture into the world to explore the practical application of his studies. His work as a teacher for the deaf started in the city of London, where he taught students using methods that combined his father's visible speech techniques and his own insights. In 1870, seeking new opportunities and a fresh start, Bell and his family moved to Canada. Shortly after, in 1871, Bell settled in Boston, Massachusetts. Here, he continued to teach the deaf, but his passion for invention began to take hold in earnest. Bell began experimenting with ways to improve the communication abilities of the hearing impaired. His interest shifted from teaching to the mechanical challenges of transmitting sound electronically. It was in Boston that Bell met Thomas Watson, a young man who would become his assistant and lifelong collaborator. Together, they embarked on an ambitious project to figure out how to transmit human speech over long distances using electrical signals. This was no easy task, and Bell faced many obstacles, but he was undeterred. After years of experimentation, trials, and setbacks, Bell made a groundbreaking discovery on March 10, 1876. In a small room at his laboratory, Bell spoke into a device that had wires and a speaker, saying the famous words, "Mr. Watson, come here, I want to see you." To his astonishment, Watson, who was in another room, heard his voice clearly through the receiver. That moment marked the birth of the telephone device that would forever change the way humans communicate. Bell had managed to convert sound vibrations into electrical signals that could travel over a wire and be reproduced at the other end. It was a breakthrough like no other, and in that instant, the world of communication had changed forever. On March 7, 1876, just a few days before Bell's famous conversation with Watson, he was granted the patent for the telephone. However, Bell wasn't the only one working on similar technologies. The American inventor Elisha Gray had also developed a telephone-like device, and a bitter legal battle ensued over the patent rights. In the end, Bell's claim was upheld, and he became recognized as the official inventor of the telephone. Bell continued to improve upon his invention. The early telephones were far from perfect, but with each innovation, they became clearer, more reliable, and more accessible. The telephone quickly spread throughout the United States and beyond, reshaping how people communicated. No longer were long-distance messages confined to letters that could take weeks to arrive. People could now speak to one another in real time, no matter the distance. Though the telephone was his most famous invention, Bell's curiosity never ceased. He worked on many other inventions, including the photophone, which transmitted sound via light, a precursor to fiber optic communication, aeronautics, and the hydrofoil, a type of fast boat. Throughout his life, Bell's passion for science and innovation drove him to explore new frontiers. As the years passed, Bell became more reclusive, moving to Quebec, a small town in Nova Scotia, Canada, where he continued his work. Though his greatest achievement, the invention of the telephone, had already changed the world, Bell remained focused on his ongoing research into sound, hearing, and communication. Bell's later years were spent teaching, writing, and collaborating with other scientists. In 1922, at the age of 75, Alexander Graham Bell passed away in Quebec. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy lived on. The telephone had become an essential part of daily life, and Bell's work laid the foundation for modern telecommunications. Bell's later years were spent teaching, writing, and collaborating with other scientists. In 1922, at the age of 75, Alexander Graham Bell passed away in Quebec. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy lived on. The telephone had become an essential part of daily life, and Bell's work laid the foundation for modern telecommunications. Schools, research institutions, and companies around the world bear his name, and his legacy continues to inspire those who strive to push the boundaries of what is possible. Through his inventions, Bell proved that with determination, passion, and a willingness to think outside the box, one individual can change the world. And so the story of Alexander Graham Bell reminds us that even the smallest idea can, with time and effort, grow into something that revolutionizes the world. If you enjoyed the story of Alexander Graham Bell, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. Thanks for watching.